Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Viv.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Bronze. On this bright spring morning, it's a beautiful day. Evening, it's a beautiful day. Well, was rather.
Well, yes, it's Thursday, March 20th, first day of spring, the spring equinox 2025, and Storm in the Teacup, episode 6.
Oh, and actually, did you know? I think we need to make this a thing. Actually, I'm now looking at what comes up as who's mentioned in our YouTubes.
Oh yes.
And because we spoke about Norman Wisdom last week, confirming that he was in the week before, apparently last week we spoke about Norman Wisdom again. So I want to say Norman Wisdom a few times again. It's going to be like we've got a Norman Wisdom channel.
I think, yes, I funnily enough, I was thinking the same thing, 4D. I think we should adopt Norman Wisdom as our mascot, and he should get an honourable mention every week to make sure his picture is up there in the people mentioned. So
love it.
Norman Wisdom.
Norman Wisdom, why weren't you given a knighthood?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fair comment. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
actually,
when you see...
because it was a joke, but now it's not a joke. I actually really like Norman Wisdom. So I'm glad that he's our mascot in a funny way how that has happened.
Norman Wisdom was great. Norman Wisdom was great. He was a very talented guy. His life story is very interesting as well.
Yes,
there you go. One day we'll have to actually do a chat about his life story. That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah. He sort of introduces a note of anarchy and chaos to the domestic and the ordinary British scene. You know, just stumbling around, creating chaos wherever he goes.
Yes, and pathos as well. He had tons of pathos to add to the mix.
Possibly too much pathos, but that's for another discussion, probably. Yeah.
Oh, and I don't know what that word means.
It's a kind of
sentimentality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it can be good, it can be bad. It's sort of just something that evokes pity or sadness.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You get the word pathetic, which is not such a good word. Pathos kind of, you know, it's a method of persuasion as well, which is interesting. You know, in rhetoric, in sort of Greek rhetoric, you bring out the pathos. You know, I, poor me. You know,
emotional manipulation.
In a sense, yeah.
I love how words still today, when you break them down, you can take them back to a distant language that was spoken hundreds or thousands of years ago, and how it's kind of developed, and how our tongue has changed it. Even as a dyslexic, I love words. I love I just love how we've integrated them and made them our own.
Yeah, I do. I agree.
In fact, Shakespeare was in the news recently, and again, that's another thing that sums up England to me, with this use of this beautiful way of using language, and how Shakespeare sort of told these stories about love, about loss, about all the normal day things, but in a more romanticized way, and how the words were poetry and still are today.
I mean, so many phrases have come out. You know, so much has come out from Shakespeare. People say these words in everyday life, and they don't realise that what they're saying is Shakespeare coined these words or phrases. Really, you know.
There is a very good film about Shakespeare called Anonymous, which I recommend watching. Because you know the story about Shakespeare is that Shakespeare didn't really write those what has been attributed to Shakespeare. They were written by somebody else who used Shakespeare as a as a kind of a front.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
want to know my opinion about this?
Yeah, go on.
I think in common with a lot of playwrights, I've read quite a lot of that stuff from that era. A lot of playwrights were collaborators. They collaborated with other playwrights. I think Shakespeare may very well have been a name of a group.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, this in the story Anonymous, it posits that the person who wrote everything attributed to Shakespeare was one of the nobility. I think it was the Earl of Oxford or something like that.
Yes.
I can't remember. And at the time, the whole theatre thing was considered a real, just a very much a working class commoner thing, and the nobility should have. It was absolutely taboo for the nobility to have anything to do with it. And so he couldn't publish them under his own name, so he had to find someone else to publish them. And Shakespeare was the real Shakespeare was apparently this semi-illiterate son of a merchant who was an actor. He was an actor, and he paid him to pretend to be the author of these works, and that's so the story goes. And if there's any truth to the real William Shakespeare being this sort of common son of a merchant who wasn't the most literate person, it kind of makes sense because you look at the subjects in Shakespeare's plays, and you have knowledge of foreign courts, the workings of how. Of nobility in foreign countries, in foreign lands, and all of this knowledge about all of this incredible stuff. And it's like just this actor from England wouldn't have known that. Somebody from nobility would have known that. They would have had that knowledge. So that kind of makes sense, you know.
There's another argument based on that, and that is that the Earl of Oxford was used to discredit someone who's essentially just came from a merchant family. Sort of, early lower middle class, working class, as if to say, oh, someone working class couldn't do this. There had to be do you see what I mean? This is endless discussion about this.
Yeah, we're just going to go around in circles now, aren't we?
But, basically we're on a wild goose chase and we're getting in a pickle. So we can't insist on a pound of flesh. It's in a sense, it's all Greek to me. And the lady doth protest too much. All those are phrases that Shakespeare invented.
Yes. Well done, Viv.
Thank you.
Well, having had a spell as a Shakespearean actor, I'll throw that in there now. But I did actually get to work with the Royal Shakespeare Company as well, which was glorious and very fun for me. But I was going to say, even working with the Royal Shakespeare Company, everyone there had their own version of what the true story of Shakespeare was, and it's really funny because the two Bronze said about the group. Oh, no, sorry. Viv said about the group, and what Bron said were both common ones that were spoke about at the Royal Shakespeare Company, that what they believed was the truth. And I suppose at the end of the day now, all these years later, it doesn't matter because it's still English, but it is a bit... I suppose it just adds to the romance of Shakespeare, I suppose, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But the horrible thing that's occurring is they are doing this decolonization thing, and you can't win with that game.
It's racist, isn't it? Shakespeare is racist. Yeah, is that related?
I'm not so sure about racist, but he is espousing. It's an ideology of white European supremacy.
Yeah, racism.
Right, which is a kind of racism. Yeah. Despite that he's performed all over the world. A few years ago, there was a Shakespeare thing where people from all over the world were doing Shakespeare plays. I think in in several African countries, they translated to African tribal cultures. They had Caesar, I believe, done in Xhosa or African dialect. So it shows he is universal.
Well, where is this coming from now? This latest attack on Shakespeare on Western culture. Who is it? Who's launching this attack?
Unfortunately, the charity called Shakespeare's Birthplace Trust, which is, believe it or not, tasked with preserving the Shakespeare heritage sites in Stratford-upon-Avon, and it's now presently decolonising its huge collection.
Well, I think it's probably just signed its own death warrant because it's so ridiculous this to come out with this kind of nonsense about Shakespeare. The work stands on its own. It's lasted however long it is, 500 odd years as it is. Yeah. To have them now to jump on this woke bandwagon and say, I mean, in so many words, all this white, but however you describe it, they're basically just saying it's racist. That's what they're saying now, and it's not going to stand. Of course, it won't stand. They're going to try doing this and towing the line, but it's just the scales will balance. The pendulum will swing back at some point.
I mean, come on. Yeah,
it's absolute nonsense, and everybody knows it's absolute nonsense with everything else with it. So, it's going to happen, and then they'll get over it, and it will get back to normal.
Yeah, but come on, Bronze. Put on a Shakespeare play, and it could be full. It'll be absolutely full of far right racist thugs. They love it. They would just love a bit of Hamlet.
Yeah, even his name, Shakespeare. I'm sure that's racist, isn't it? Doesn't that, they're trying to make fun of African tribesmen there or something? I don't know.
It's anti-Zulu.
I love it. We call him White Man Shakespeare. No.
Yeah, Shakespeare.
It is such nonsense. I can't believe it. But I do believe it. It's happening.
Yeah, and the intellectual level of it is ridiculous, especially for a country that used to be, rulers of the world almost. But he's born in 1564, so even if Shakespeare was racist, that would fit with the times. So even if we would all agree that he was the most foul racist that's ever been in England, it would still be a historical fact that okay, he was racist back then. We all were.
Yeah, but at the same time, racism is largely a 19th century invention, the scientific idea of race.
True.
So I just don't know. I mean, Shakespeare had Othello, a black man, as the lead in a play. He had Shylock, a Jewish guy.
Don't get me wrong. I think he was, I think the opposite of what I've just said. I know. Even if that was the case. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I know. I'm agreeing with you. I'm absolutely agreeing with you. I've just looked at Shakespeare's Birthplace Trust, and they have warned visitors that some items in its collection may contain language or depictions that are racist, sexist, homophobic, or otherwise harmful. Well, the past was a different time.
Well, all they should say there is. There may be some things here which reflect real life, because that's what they're saying there.
Yeah.
This may remind you of your real life, so we should warn you. Just in case you have a nervous disposition and you don't like reality, you might get reminded by some of these things here.
And as someone who was lucky enough to have got into quite depth into Shakespeare, having to do, because I did Hamlet, I did my favourite one was Midsummer Night Dream. That was brilliant because I got to be a woman, and without making it weird or anything, it's such a weird, fun idea with a bunch of squaddies playing all of the characters and I did Henry V, and when you get into the depths of Shakespeare, and because again we had to learn the language to be able to remember it and recite it on stage without having lines in front of you, you have to know what you're saying, and it is like, for me it was like learning a new language. It was ridiculous.
But
to say he's racist again, when I say it couldn't be further from the truth, is his depth of human compassion, his depth of human understanding, his idea of love, of romance, of war, especially with Henry V, and what goes through a king's mind. There is, even in that day, he would not have been a racist because he was a people person. He had to have been a people person, whoever Shakespeare was, to have wrote the depth of human emotion in those plays.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Yeah. And even then, I don't think, I mean, Othello, weirdly enough, I seem to remember, I haven't watched it or read it for a long, long time, but Othello is it's treated quite sympathetically. It's the real villain of Othello is not Othello himself, but Iago, who is his lieutenant, who stirs up the jealousy in in Othello's mind, which leads him to killing his wife. And Iago does this for reasons of his own. So,
unfortunately, I don't know much about. That's one play I don't know much about.
Othello was called the Moor of Venice, and there's complicated political stuff going on there. Othello was a hero, a warrior, but Iago wanted to. I can't remember the exact details, but he did plant seeds in Othello's mind, accusing his wife Desdemona of infidelity, of all sorts of things, which led this to fester in Othello's mind and ultimately commit a terrible act.
Sounds very much like the Hamlet storyline.
Yeah. There's a bit of that in it as well, for sure.
No, it's such a shame that we've been infiltrated in such a way that even British wholesome museums or works of art or whatever it is are turning against our own English way of life. It is such a shame. And this I'm glad you said, Viv, that racism was a 19th century invention, because again, it never was a thing. I think we've said it before. We love going to other countries and experiencing other countries, but it doesn't mean when we come home we don't want to be back in our own country. And there's nothing racist about that at all.
No, of course not. I mean, the point I'm making is the 19th century. When you look at, say, colonisation before the 19th century, it was very different. 19th century, the scientific invention of race was used to justify colonisation as the British Empire spread. Before that, things were very different. They're very different. If you went to India in the 18th century, you might very well marry into one of the royal families or an Indian family, There's a whole book called White Mughals.
So who came up with because now that's a really interesting question, and you're the book man, so you may actually know this, but so who started the conversation of there was different races of people? Because we were the human race. So which famous person was it that started saying, oh, hang on, we've got different races of people?
Yeah, I know. It's all to do with scientific classification. Whereas before, a flower was a flower. In the 19th century, or even sort of into the 18th century, people started classifying things. There was a huge craze for, that's why we've got different. I forget all the different groupings. A flower is a particular flower is a member of a particular genus, a particular type of plant which is related to other plants. Animals as well. Cats. Oh yeah, they're all cats. They are that lot. All those cats, tigers, lions, cats.
Yeah, I got it. Right.
And then they started to do that to humans, and then of course the idea of superior inferior races came about, and that sort of suited very well the colonial impulse and the so-called scramble for Africa. As to invented this, I think it was just a current. It went along with Darwinism. as well.
I was going to say how much of this has come from Darwin, but also just generally sort of getting deeper and deeper into categorizations. I think that's probably just the way that science has progressed. You know, we've been able to look deeper and deeper into things, look at things closer and closer, and as such, they become more segregated in terms of classes and this, that, and the other. You know,
For sure.
That's just a part of the scientific process now, the advancement.
Yeah, I think so, and the political process as well. I mean, the idea that that left and right wing are political ideas now only really comes from the French Revolution, because one side sat on the left side of the assembly, the other side sat on the right. It doesn't mean that much in a sense, you know. Especially when we see that a left-wing party, the Labour Party, is actually far right, you know, or it's morphed into a kind of far right party in a weird sense.
Yeah,
I don't mean they're stomping around in jackboots, but you know that sort of ideology that they're espousing now.
Oh yeah, it's kind of how fascism is always used to describe far right, but you're actually getting these far left now who are kind of closer to fascism than anyone else. So it could be described as fascism rather than far wrong or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, both the Nazi Party and the Italian Fascist Party did draw on big elements of socialist currents at the time. I mean, Nazis started off; they sort of took over a small socialist party.
Mussolini was a socialist. He said,
he said that. Yeah.
We started the fascist party. He said, "I am a socialist." He was a socialist. Yeah, no
so
doubt.
A lot of this is simplistic. When you stop and look at things, you think, things aren't that simple. You know, they don't fit so easily into boxes that they've given. You know, it's a bit lazy. You know, intellectually lazy to.
It's lazy. Yeah, I think it's lazy, and it's also maybe the lines are blurred deliberately to a certain extent for that very same reason, to blur the lines. You know?
Yeah,
and you know, all these terms get thrown around so easily these days: Nazi, fascist, and most of the people who throw them around as such don't even really know what they're saying. They don't know the meanings of the words they're using anymore.
I've said it before that these words are onomatopoeic. I think they're chosen as well. Like, my thoughts about spells, spelling being spells, words make spells. Nazi sounds like nasty.
Yeah.
And fascist, it sounds like feces. You know, it's got a sort of a cognizance with those words.
I've never really thought of it that way, but yeah, I can see that. But it's just the funny what you say about spelling. You know, you spell by spelling. You cast a spell, but by spelling. And there's a theory in magic, like it's a very kind of basic thing. Everything I say 3 times is true, meaning not necessarily literally meaning everything that is said 3 times is true, but basically just saying if you repeat something over and over and over and you just keep repeating it, it becomes true in the mind of the person who's receiving it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And on a deeper level, there's a significance to the number 3, because also in gypsies, in the old gypsy community, if you were to be cursed by a gypsy, the only way to combat a gypsy's curse, I was taught, was that you had to say, whatever you've put upon me, I give you thrice in return. Because in magic, 3 is something to do with, in magic, 3 is the highest number of some description.
Yeah. And when you look at marketing, pardon me, when you look at marketing, there's this technique used in marketing called the power of 3. So you link 3 things together, and the politicians have started doing this. It's the number 3 is everywhere in political slogans, especially during COVID. Things like hands, face, space.
Build back better.
Build Back Better. Perfect. Yeah. There's dozens and hundreds of examples. Hundreds.
There is, of course, the Masonic. There is link to the number 3 as well. 33rd degree Mason is the highest level you can achieve in Freemasonry.
Yep. Threes and combinations of threes.
And Nikola Tesla had the 369 mathematical equation.
What's that? I don't know that one. I don't think.
Yeah, when I said mathematical equation, I knew I wasn't going to be able to explain this correctly. But it's, I think it's called toroidal mass. No, not toroidal mass. It's called. I'll come back. It's basically it's some holy alliance between the numbers 3, 6, and 9, and how the whole universe is written in the numbers 3, 6, and 9, and that they're good numbers.
Wasn't Tesla?
Yeah. Interesting.
Wasn't Tesla meant to be a good guy?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, in all fairness, you can apply this 3 rule on both sides, because you also have the Holy Trinity, of course.
So
you have a 3 there as well. So maybe it is a little bit kind of you can use it. you can use it however you want to use it in a certain way. Do you know what I mean? It has some fluidity to it.
Yeah, it has power, definitely. It's very interesting, isn't it? The number 3, and also the number 7 is the number of completion.
Well, isn't number 3 the first prime number? I suppose number 1. Well, you could say 1 is the first prime, couldn't you? But 3 is the first actual number, which is more than 1, which is the prime number.
Yeah. Amazing, really amazing. And then people forget about 2. There's so much in within humans that is binary, and this is why when people say I'm non-binary, I kind of think, well, hang on, humans are essentially binary in the sense that we've got 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 2 I won't go any further, but 2 of other things,
2 genders.
2 genders. Oh, come on! But what about
Sorry, the truth is the truth, Viv. I know it can be difficult sometimes.
But as a llama, I would beg to differ.
Well, does a llama have 2 humps, or is it just 1 hump?
Oh, don't.
It has 2 L's, doesn't it?
It has 2 L's. Well, that'll be all right. And don't. I think it has 1 hump. That's ruined it.
It has 2 syllables.
No, it has 2 humps, doesn't it? Or is that a push me pull you?
That's a camel.
And with the number 3, if it had 3 humps, it'd be called Humphrey. But going back to the 369, because I had to look it up because I couldn't remember. But yes, it's the Nikola Tesla 369 theory, and it's also been coined as the key to the universe. And so it was this idea that you could work everything out in the universe using the 369. If you don't know about it, have a look into it. It's a really interesting look at mathematics from Nikola Tesla's point of view. And as Bron says, I think he was meant to be a good guy. And there's a lot of stories about him, but whether he was an alien, whether he was visited by aliens, or whether he was just an absolute genius, that the stuff that guy, his story is just absolutely amazing and sad. The way he ended up alone in a hotel room, and yet he was such an absolute genius. And I'd love to know. I don't think any of us know what he fully knew. And of course, there's the great stories that when he died, the FBI raided his room and took all of his files. And there's a great story that it was Trump's uncle that was one of those men that went in there and took the files, and that possibly Trump has knowledge of stuff because of those files that his uncle took, which is a great story to go down as well.
Yeah.
just on that 369 thing, I won't go into it, but there is a rhythmic connection between, in terms of music, rhythm in music. 3 and a 6 and a 9, there is a very strong connection between, not just because 3 goes into 6 and 3 goes into 9. There's it's kind of really complicated, and I won't try and explain it, but there is quite a deep connection with those numbers as well.
I'm glad there is, because Tesla always said the answer to the universe was through vibration, and if you think of vibration, all vibration is sound. And when Tesla used to sit in his little Tesla towers, when he used to sit in his little Tesla tower, the sound of the electricity that comes off of the probe at the top gives off a harmonic sound, and so you can hear music that if you sit in the middle of it, and they play music, and it's amplified and it sounds gorgeous, and that. So the idea that vibration and sound is the key to the universe, I've always been fascinated with it, even to the point that in the Bible, God, what is it? He speaks the word. Now I've forgotten what it is, but the word of God brings life into the universe, as if again it's a sound, it's a vibration that brings
word made flesh, isn't that
it? Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
And I have to mention in this talk about threes and music, the Devil's Interval, Diabolos in Musica. It's a tritone, which is 3 whole steps, and it was forbidden in medieval music. Because it's a bit unsettling. This,
well, it's probably the most discordant harmony you can have in normal diatonic scales.
Yeah, it was avoided for centuries. The composers wouldn't use the tritone, the Devil's Interval, Diabolus in Musica.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
It makes me think of the walls of Jericho, and how the walls of Jericho were brought down, and you think, and it's all about the trumpets, and I think to myself, that is absolutely feasible, because again, we even use that today. Sound, we can break down rock, you can break down, you use sound in your body to break down cancer cells. So the use of sound waves is incredible.
I think kidney stones as well. Don't they use a frequency to break kidney stones? I may be wrong.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
And it gives light to the idea that if you with my mental health and going down the routes of mental health that I've gone down, it's also this idea that if you're depressed, you're constantly saying in your head or even out loud that you're a bad person, you're not right, whatever the negative words, and the only difference between someone who's got depression and someone that hasn't got depression is that they are saying happy words, and that again the power of those words, there's a vibrational power to it. And if you ask any gardener about talking to their plants, they'll say that their plants that they talk to do seem to grow better than the ones they don't, and that's not just a crazy thing. That's a scientific fact now.
That may well have something to do with if you're talking to your plants, you're breathing carbon dioxide onto them, and they feed on carbon dioxide. So there may be just a simple explanation there. But
it would had they not have done it with playing music.
Yeah, no, I'm not discounting that there isn't something to it, but I'm just also offering a very simple explanation.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, I'm fully on board with the whole vibration thing. It's that there is this thing in music, you've probably heard about it, where there's this frequency which is meant to be much better for us. Everything is tuned to what they call concert pitch these days, which is 440 hertz.
Yeah, 440.
They say that 432 hertz is what is the much better frequency, and 440 is not good for us. For our general well-being, whereas 432 is a lot better.
Yeah.
I got into that in a big way when because with PTSD, it's something that I don't have at the moment, but I used to have what's called night rages, where it's a nightmare, but I guess our brains see it more vividly, so it turns into a rage. And someone had said to me about 432 hertz and to have a look at it for going to sleep before I went to sleep. And yeah, I used that a hell of a lot. I think for about a good 3, 4, maybe 5 years, where I would go to bed listening to 342 hertz. And there's lots of things that have changed, and I can't say that it was just because of that music, but I think it helped me a great deal in getting rid of my extreme nightmares that I was having.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's literally just sort of spacey kind of music. You can find them on YouTube, and they'll say 432 hertz, and I think I even had a kind of a very elf Lord of the Rings type music kind of thing, and it was just very relaxing. And one thing I will attest to is it used to take me ages and ages to fall asleep. 432 hertz, I'm asleep in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you can write all sorts. You can have like heavy metal in 432 hertz. It's all how the instruments are tuned. It's not the actual music itself. It's just the frequency at which the instruments are tuned. So
I see. I thought it was something to do with the speed of the.
No, not at all. It doesn't. You can have your kind of space age hippie-ish type chill out music, but you can also have in your face rock and roll, and it'll still be 432.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. See, I didn't know. I thought it was I thought 432 hertz was something about the vibration, or the speed of the vibration, or something. I don't know.
Well, it is.
Oh, right.
It is as well. Yeah, it is as well. Yeah. Because
But it's of each note. Right.
Yeah, I mean, 440 was chosen so that orchestras in the classical music era, or I forget what it's called, began to travel around, probably from the time of Handel in the 18th century. They began to need to have a common tuning, so they chose for some reason. The French have 432, I believe, even now, I think. But most people, especially the Germans, who were leaders of orchestral music in the 19th century, people chose 440 as 440 is middle A. Everyone tunes to middle A, 440 hertz.
Right.
So you tune up on A, on the middle A, and that's so everyone's in tune, in pitch. So that's again where partly where that comes from. There are lots of rumors about the 440 as opposed to other tuning methods. But here's a good one. Sorry, I'll bring this in a minute. Let's carry on.
No, I was just going to say I've no personal proof that there is anything to it. I'm just kind of recounting stuff that I've read and heard. So
yeah,
I certainly, it's like, yeah, I believe it could well be true, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, there are adherents of different tunings, of course. Absolutely, of course. What I was going to say about another vibrational frequency is the Schumann resonance. Do you know about this?
Yeah.
It's produced by waves in the ionosphere, I think, electromagnetics.
And there's this idea that we're supposed to take our shoes and socks off and go out and almost de-static ourselves from that hertz, that aerial hertz. And you think about these kind of tribes or nomadic people that are barefoot and how they have less diseases and problems that we suffer with. And I do often think, again, there's a lot in this Schumann resonance and all these things.
I do. It's called grounding. You take your shoes off and you stand on the ground on which you actually stand. But interestingly, I've just looked up Schumann resonance actually, and the Schumann resonance and the frequencies range from 7.83 hertz which is called the Earth's Heartbeat, to, here we go, 33.8 hertz.
Those are very, very low frequencies. Those are
Very,
extremely
very,
low. I mean,
really low.
in terms
Yeah,
of
you need special equipment to even hear it, or to.
in terms of audio, those are like super, 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 super sub bass frequencies.
Yeah.
Right.
You won't even begin to start to hear frequencies up until at least maybe 70 or 80 hertz, and that's like really, really, really low bass.
They're
So
massive.
Yeah, thanks.
It's massively low, but then again, you can search and you can find generators that produce what they call the Schumann resonance, and it's very odd when you play them. I mean, I played one. I played one for a couple of hours, and I found myself just kind of melting, just becoming so relaxed, almost comatose. No, not quite, but. You know,
and what sort of a what sort of a price are you talking about? This kind of machine that plays that harmon.
Schumann resonance is free on YouTube and loads of places.
Oh, I see. Right.
Just go on YouTube and you'll find a video with just, I don't know, pushing out those frequencies, I guess.
Yeah, Schumann resonance. Although you won't be able to hear it, so I don't quite know what they're doing. But it's presumably, it's a synthetic version of the Schumann resonance. Don't know. Don't want to put out false info. But Schumann resonance on YouTube, I don't know. I got into listening to it for a while. It's a drone. Yeah.
That sounds like one of those dodgy things where they say, honestly, I know you can't hear anything, but give me $5.99 and he'll you.
No, you can actually hear it the way it's done.
Right.
No, I don't know enough about how it's produced on the YouTube channels.
Yeah.
But yeah, you check in Schumann resonance. Schumann spelt same as the German composer, Schumann. And yeah, there's plenty of these sites, and they'll play non-stop. They'll just play. It's a drone. It's basically a drone.
Yeah. I'll have to have a look at that. Yeah.
I think you'd be into it, 4D. I think you'd like this.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting just to check it out, see if you can notice any difference after an hour or so. I mean, you can just have it on. If you can't actually hear it, you could probably just have it on while you're doing something else. You might even be watching something or listening to something else or doing anything, and it can still be going on in the background.
But for sure, you can hear it in the channels I've listened to in the YouTube. You can hear it. They've done something. They've topped it up. Don't know.
I've always said I feel much more comfortable when I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Give me a tent in the middle of nowhere, and I feel calmer. I feel everything. I feel lovely when I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and I think again it's probably something to do with those natural harmonics that are just playing that you can actually hear because there's no cars and screaming kids and stuff, and you're actually back to nature. You're in the ground. You're touching the earth. I think there's a lot to be said for it.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean you're in your natural habitat essentially. You don't have any of the artificial man-made things which get in the way when you're living in a city, or we live in this concrete and steel jungle. This is not natural. This is not a natural habitat for us. Natural habitat is out in nature, being close to trees and fields and the open sky,
And it's another funny thing how they've pushed us all into these kind of concrete hovels and forced us all to live on top of each other in high-rise flats when they know there's enough space for us all to be out in the middle of nowhere with some ground and almost again like they want us to be down.
Yeah, it restricts us. It's very restricting.
Talking of restricting, it's a complete 180, complete change of subject, but it was just because it flashed in my head. Did you catch what had happened with the TR, with the Tommy stuff today?
Tommy Char. Yeah, I saw you sent me that video. I wasn't really even aware that was going on, but there's some court case that he was on on a live link with it's about him being in solitary, isn't it? Something to do with that. They're trying to get that changed.
Yes,
they
Ezra Levant says it really well. But basically, this is the court case to see whether it's not about the solitary confinement. It's about whether or not that case should be looked at as an immediate thing. So it was whether the judge thought it was something that needed to be rushed up, or if it could be waited for another couple of years, I suppose.
Yeah, which case? Sorry, which case?
The actual case of him being in solitary confinement and whether it's humane and stuff.
Okay, but hasn't that been decided already? Because he is in solitary confinement. He's actually locked up.
Yeah, but his lawyers are complaining that it's against his human rights, and it shouldn't be.
Okay.
He shouldn't be in there.
So they're appealing. They're appealing certain aspects of it. Then,
and before they can even appeal it, they've got this case today was to say whether or not it was important enough to have an emergency appeal. That's the ridiculousness of it. But the judge that presided over it is some sort of free speech advocate, and has come out many times saying, I believe it's she. I believe I'm right in saying it's she believes in free speech and this, that, and the other. Tommy wasn't allowed to be in court for the case. He was only allowed to come in on a phone call, and what had happened is he sort of put his hand up to the screen to say he wanted to talk. So the judge had said, okay, we'll go to Tommy. He wants to talk. And he'd started talking, and then the camera had gone dead or whatever. And the case carried on. And then Tommy had wrote on a piece of paper, I was cut off. I didn't stop the video call kind of thing. And apparently the judge read what he put up to the screen, because it basically turned off his volume so he couldn't be heard. And outrage came up in the court, and she said, right, get that prison officer on the phone now. If he hasn't got Tommy on the call immediately, there's going to be sort of blah blah blah, this so standing up for his rights. But as I think, as someone was saying, the fact that he got to put up a sign saying I've been cut off only added to the proof that he is being restricted. It's brilliant.
Yeah, but they reckon that the police, not the police, the prisons who are monitoring his call deliberately cut off his call.
That's it. Yeah, and you have no right to do that in a court of law.
There's no argument he's being mistreated. There's no argument at all. It's just we need a half reasonable judge to actually show some common sense.
Yeah.
So probably the biggest news of the last couple of days is the JFK files. Been following that at all?
No, I was. What are the main points about that?
Oh God! Well, there's about 8,000 pages, Viv. So, and I have not read any of them, so I can't really accurately answer your question. But I can only repeat what other people have been saying and reporting on. People have actually read bits of it. But there does seem to be a few overall. I mean, there's nothing in there that says this person shot JFK, or it was this organization who ordered the hit, or this was why it was done. There's nothing as clear cut as that. But the CIA do not come out of it looking good.
Right.
The CIA, there's loads of stuff about the CIA and all of their the operations that they've got up to. I mean, we're going back to the kind of 60s, and they were doing back then the sort of things that we kind of think that they're doing these days. They've been doing it for decades.
Yeah,
all of it. Israel comes into the picture as well.
Yeah.
So it's starting to look like there's something CIA, Israel, something going on there. That's kind of.
Who was the? Am I right in saying me in American politics? I'm terrible, but after JFK. Was it Bush Senior that was the ex-CIA director?
Yeah,
he was the ex-CIA director. He was. I can't remember if he was the head of the CIA at the time of Kennedy, but he was definitely in the CIA. He was definitely up
Oh,
there.
so he was actually in the CIA when Joe. And it's funny how he then became president. Again, I'm not just a thing to throw out there. I think there's probably strong links there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there's some people are speculating that Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was Kennedy's vice president and succeeded him after Kennedy was murdered. There's some people saying that he ordered it. Whether that's true or not, don't know. But because Kennedy, it appears, was very much into kind of peace. He wanted peace. He wanted to. From what I've read, it seems that Israel wanted to pursue a nuclear to get a nuclear arsenal up and running. The CIA wanted to help them. Kennedy didn't want that. Kennedy was actually wanted to get rid of nuclear weapons, and so the CIA wanted to appease Israel. So maybe that was one reason.
Well, again, eh?
Yeah, I know. That's one thing that some people are saying. And also, of course, after Kennedy was murdered and Lyndon Baines Johnson got into power, America went full on into the Vietnam War.
That's right. Yeah,
With Kennedy, probably, who knows? But that wasn't what he wanted to do. Kennedy was more into peace, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, it does seem that way. It was Alan W. Dulles, who was CIA director up to 65. Just looking at the directors, John A. Cohn followed. Dulles was to 61. Cohn was 61 to 65. Kennedy was assassinated 63, I think.
November 22nd, 63.
Yep. It's funny. November 22nd. Yeah.
Dulles was also apparently when they had the Warren Commission, the investigation into the assassination, and that was led by Jim Garrison, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Apparently, Alan Dulles was the one who was really in charge of that. So I heard.
Right.
He had his fingers all over that, and that was obviously a whitewash. The Warren Commission. That was all. That wasn't.
It's to be expected. Yeah. Of course.
It's the blob investigating itself. It's never going to find any wrongdoing, is it?
No. Of course. So we have after Dulles, we have John A. McCone up to 65. Then Vice Admiral William F. Rayborn up to 66. Richard M. Helms to 73. He had a long tenure. 66 to 73. James R. Schlesinger to 73. William Colby, notorious figure, to 76. And here we go. George H.W. Bush, 1976 to 1977.
So he was head of the CIA from 76, but he was definitely in the CIA at the time of the Kennedy assassination. I know that. So he obviously wasn't.
Sure. Absolutely.
He has been named previously in things I've read. He's been named as someone who was in on it as well at the time. So he may have been culpable.
Yeah.
It's interesting in as much as Q coined the phrase "follow the money," and a lot of people would say, we're looking for rich people like the sort of likes of Jeffrey Epstein. And even back then I was like, no, I think it's more follow the money as in where is the money? Well, it's in child trafficking. Oh, well, we can't say that one. It's in human stuff, and it's in war. So really, when it's follow the money, you're looking at who starts wars, who finances wars, who makes money from wars, and the other thing that we can't talk about.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So someone who's the head, or someone who's in the CIA, ends up as the head of the CIA, and then ends up as president. I'm sure there's some dastardly deeds going around the world there.
I don't think there's too many people who hold him these days in high regard. Even people who supported him back in the day. There's a lot of people now, MAGA supporters, who openly say, "Oh yeah, I used to be a Bush Republican." You know, that's before I knew anything. You know, but now I know. Now I know that guy was a wrong 'un. So it's it's a process of evolution, isn't it? It's the journey.
And I wonder, as you said, if JFK hadn't have been assassinated, they possibly wouldn't have gone to war with Vietnam. I wonder what a large impact that did have. Well, we know it did have a large impact, but yeah, I wonder how it could have been different on just that one thing. It's so scary to know that that things are controlled at a level that people don't want to believe, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean the whole entry of well, I don't know. It's kind of sketchy the whole beginning of. I mean, you could actually say the Vietnam War goes right back to the end of World War II because it was a French colony. It was French Indochina before it was Vietnam. They were struggling trying to get the French out for right up until the 50s, and then the Americans started. They didn't get involved physically, but they started supplying. You know, they started giving aid and weapons to the southern Vietnamese because obviously it was the big bad Reds wanted to take over Vietnam, the big bad communists, and that was ongoing, I think. But I think it's kind of credited as being 65 to 75, the Vietnam War. So maybe
65, yeah. But the event which triggered the American entry into Vietnam. And people forget about French involvement, don't they? They forget about all this.
Yeah, it was the Gulf of Tonkin, wasn't it? It was the false flag, the Gulf of Tonkin. That was what.
Wasn't even a false flag, apparently. It was something that was sort of invented in a sense. I mean, I'm looking at a picture now from a book, which I'm reading currently. And it's a picture of U.S. Navy Admiral George Stephen Morrison on the bridge of USS Bon-Homme Richard, January 1964. That was the ship involved in the Tonkin incident, which seems to have been an attempt to provoke, which nobody got provoked. So in that sense, it wasn't even a false flag. In a sense. I could go on about this, but I'd have to read the background material. But do you know?
I'm sorry, Viv. It was the North Vietnamese attacking US warships. Is that correct? Is that what the Tonkin incident is?
That's the idea. That's.
And you're saying that's what it was, or you're saying because I'm under the impression that it wasn't as we were told. It wasn't actually an attack by the North Vietnamese. It was staged to make it look like it was a North Vietnamese to give the USA the excuse to come in and start putting boots on the ground. You know.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. That's the idea. Yeah, that was the idea, I believe. Although Tonkin is. It's a bit more complicated because the provocation didn't quite work as it was expected to work, which I would try to explain that what I'm saying. Although it's not in here. This is the book I'm reading.
Yeah, you'll have to read out loud, Viv, where we can't.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. I know. Anyway, the picture I'm looking at shows U.S. Navy Admiral George Stephen Morrison on the bridge of the U.S. Bon-Homme Richard, 1964 Tonkin incident roundabout. He's pictured with his son. His son is called James Douglas Morrison. Do you know who that is?
Oh, I'm not Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
From the Doors.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? That gives us an unexpected tangent to the story,
doesn't it? Doesn't it just?
Yes. So, I mean, what are you implying that Jim Morrison could have been an asset?
Yeah.
Intelligence asset.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I am. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the person who wrote the book is David McGowan, and the book is called Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. It's about Laurel Canyon and the creation, and McGowan suggests, of the hippie movement in the 60s. In the 60s, in a place called Laurel Canyon, which stands above Los Angeles in the United States.
Which would have been CIA. Yeah, they would have been the ones behind.
On the top of. I mean, come on, people. On the top in Laurel Canyon, there's a mountain, and it was a huge. It's the biggest film production center apparently outside Hollywood, probably in some ways bigger than Hollywood. It's called Lookout Mountain, and it was a massive, massive site where films were produced, mainly. Well, so it said pictures of atomic tests, and there was later Vietnam footage. It's supposed to have been disbanded in '69. It ran at least up to '69, maybe longer. It was right in the middle of Laurel Canyon, which was the birthplace of the hippie movement, the counterculture in America, which spread to the rest of the world. Everyone was there in Laurel Canyon who gave birth to this movement. Jim Morrison lived there. Jim Morrison used to say his parents were dead. Now, was that a way of denouncing his parents for what they were up to, including Gulf of Tonkin, including other dubious stuff? Or was it a way of him covering up his past, his background?
Yeah, I remember watching a YouTube documentary about the whole hippie starting, and elements of what you've just said, but I didn't know the connection between Jim Morrison and that. But yeah, again, I think there's a lot of evidence to say that was a massive CIA operation to flood the American market with drugs.
And to break the anti-war movement.
Yeah. It's this level of things that when your eyes are opened up to the kinds of things that go on, it's a very dark rabbit hole in itself to just stumble upon. You realize, you realize we're just force fed this idea of war and everything that's just a lie. It's just made up. And we just go along with it.
With regards to the hippie movement, it seems to me these days that I see a lot of people, a lot of middle-aged people, shall we say, involved in various political activism.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that, look at them, I think you were probably once a hippie. You probably came out of the hippie movement when you were younger. You were probably a hippie, and and this is what you've grown up into, kind of a woke liberal activist now. And I kind of think maybe that's quite possibly what they had in mind when they created the hippie movement.
I'm quoting from McGowan's book, Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon. And it is actually an incredible book. It's worth reading with an open mind. Some of it's dubious. Some of it you think, well, hang on. Yeah, really? But as McGowan says, we are supposed to believe that all of the musical icons who settled in Laurel Canyon in the 1960s and 70s just sort of spontaneously came together. But how many peculiar coincidences do we have to overlook in order to believe that this was just a chance gathering?
Yeah.
We're into just excellent conspiraloon territory here.
It's amazing how it links back to what we were saying about Tesla and this whole idea of vibration and music and sound.
That's right.
If the CIA had got hold of Tesla's stuff and had worked out that he was onto something with the whole frequency thing, it stands to reason they then used it against us.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
at least for their own purposes, and if that happened to be against us, then that's the way it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
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 But just kind of getting it back to the JFK files, I just kind of I think because it's such a huge job. Like I said, there's about 80,000 pages, and there are a lot of people. They're all publicly available, but they obviously need to be read through and assessed. And there's a lot of people doing that. So I still think they've only been out a day or two, so I still think there's more to come on this. Once people really start getting through them, there'll be more and more analysis coming out. So there could well be more to come out on that as yet.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, but it could be like this could be just the beginning. This could be like the D class 101. You know, the JFK ones are the baby steps, and the real serious ones are yet to come. But this is probably just to kind of maybe prime the public, the general public, to make them aware of certain things, and maybe, you know, shine a light on how bad the CIA have always been, you know, setting the stage maybe. So,
Yeah, I suppose if you start with something that's so long ago that it's not in any living person's memory, it's an easier place to start before you start bringing it into what's happening in your own lives. So yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I think JFK is much more digestible than say 9/11, because 9/11 there's so many conspiracies flying around that. But although there are conspiracies around JFK is a bit different because everybody loved JFK.
Yeah, I think there are people who remember the JFK events. They're still around. You know,
Yeah.
it's 60, 63. So, but yeah.
True.
You know,
yeah.
So yeah, maybe the passage of time has something to do with it. They've had a long time to live with it. It's the dust has settled more or less, and a lot of the conspiracy information is out there, and has been out there for a long time for anyone to make their own mind up about it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fair, you know, maybe an easy place to start, the best place to start with all of this D-class. So there could well be more to come, I hope.
And I doubt. I doubt anything absolutely crazy is going to come out of it, because it's been going on for so many years. That the amount of conspiracy theories and ideas that have come out, whatever the truth is probably an amalgamation of what's already come out in the last however many years. So it's another reason why it's not going to be too shocking to anyone, because most people are aware of the idea that the CIA were involved in it, and the idea that it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald, and so yeah, it's not too shocking when it all comes out. It's just going to be a clarification of, yes, this theory was correct.
Mm-hmm.
It would really be nice to know exactly who it was.
Yeah,
you know, it probably was more than one person who pulled the trigger. It'd be nice to know who they were, two, exactly who gave them the orders, who they're working for, and three, exactly why they did it. We probably never will know that, because it's not like the CIA wrote in their files exactly those things, you know.
Yeah.
So that information is not going to be included in any of those files, I should imagine.
Yeah.
It would be nice to know, wouldn't it? Just to have some exact, you know, that's just me in my fantasy world, fantasizing.
Yeah.
No,
sure.
but then it gets people asking about Reagan, and then it gets people asking about Trump, and you know, so it's another gateway drug into the rest of this. So.
Well, interestingly enough, we still got Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy files to be released as well.
Yeah,
and they are, you know, after this JFK stuff, it's going to be very interesting how much of a common thread there's going to be between these.
Yeah, indeed.
That would be really interesting.
And also Nation of Islam, Malcolm X, and people like Fred Hampton of the Black Panthers. There's a lot of this. There's lots and lots to come out still.
Yeah. I mean, it really could be a domino effect.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Indeed.
I mean,
yeah.
The CIA was the The CIA was founded on September the 18th, 1947. So the amount of stuff that they could have been in cahoots since 1947, that's 47 weeks, 25, so that's nearly 100 years, three-quarters of a century. That's a long old time for them to be pulling.
Yeah, I think they've actually existed longer than that, but just they had the name change. They used to be the OSS, I think.
Okay.
And yes.
And they changed
OSS,
their name to the CIA in 47. So they were even going longer than that, even.
Oh, so they've always been there. God damn it.
Yeah, I don't know when the OSS was formed. That may have been a wartime thing and they just carried it on, or who knows? I don't know. But yeah, it's longer than 47 for sure.
OSS, World War II, yeah.
The OSS, right. I'll have to remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, OSS functions, coordinate espionage activities behind enemy lines, and use of propaganda, subversion, and post-war planning. Dissolved a month after the end of the war. Taken over by Strategic Services Unit, SSU, and then the CIG, Central Intelligence Group, and then morphed into the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency.
Yeah,
so there's a long history there.
Yeah, it's an unbroken line, really, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. Just very quickly on Tomkin. This is David McGowan on Tomkin. He says that it's not necessarily a false flag, which an operation that involves attacking your own forces and then pointing a finger at someone else. And it's not an attack that was deliberately provoked. It essentially was an attack that never took place. The entire incident has been all but officially acknowledged was spun from whole cloth. It's quite possible that the intent was to provoke a defensive response, which would then be cast as an unprovoked attack on US ships. The ships were on an intelligence mission and were operating in a decidedly provocative manner. But it's quite possible that when Vietnamese forces failed to respond as anticipated, Uncle Sam decided to just pretend as though they had.
Yeah, that's the story I'd heard. So yeah,
that's quite a good take on it, actually.
I use the term false flag to cover anything.
Yeah.
I know that they're being very specific with their meaning of false flag, but to me, it's like, it's like if you take, say, Pearl Harbor, if you go by the if you take it as if the Americans knew that the Japanese were going to attack Pearl Harbor, they allowed them to do it because they knew that would then bring them into the war with public support. I would call that a false flag, although that is not specifically what they would call a false flag.
People have called Pearl Harbor a false flag. Yeah. But I think it's more like that they knew it was going to happen.
Yes, I would think so. But I mean, the coincidence that all of their aircraft carriers were out at sea at the time was incredibly fortuitous, I've got to say.
The term false flag only means spy, really, because it means one who wears falsely the flag of another country. It was back when we used to send people in to gain information. So yeah, false flag can be anything that's just underhanded. That's all it is.
Yeah. That's how I use it. That's how I use it as well.
Yeah, there's specific meanings, but it's been broadened, hasn't it? It's been broadened.
That maybe goes back to the days of piracy, when you'd have pirate vessels flying the colours of a different nation.
That's genuinely exactly where it comes from. It comes from piracy, which unfortunately was a British invention, but the false flag idea, comes from that.
Drake, I think Sir Francis Drake used that tactic quite a lot.
Wow, that's brilliant. I didn't actually know that. Yeah, I've just looked it up. Yes, you're absolutely right. It originated in the 16th century as an expression meaning an intentional misrepresentation of someone's allegiance.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it's
So
designed,
like any spy is a false flagger in that idea. That's all it is, really. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
But Drake, yes, famously used it a lot, and so was he a great captain or was he just a scoundrel?
He was both.
Well,
Started off as
yeah.
He started off as a pirate, but he was obviously a very talented sailor, and his achievements stand for themselves. But he wasn't necessarily the most honourable of men. Let's put it that way.
No, indeed.
In times like that, to be fair, but
probably not even now. I don't think. Not even now.
Well, the JFK files were the big news from our son, our child country, America, our beautiful child America. But I was going to say the big news.
I don't think they'll appreciate being called the child of Britain.
Oh, I mean that in a very. I don't mean that in a derogatory way either. I mean the fact that sort of. Well, they're only 200 years old, and it was us that sort of started them. I see them as a. And in fact, I point that out. No, I see them as the son coming back to save the old crippled dad. To be fair, genuinely.
Hopefully, yeah.
It's like we took America and we took all that was bad about England and said, no, we're not going to have a king, we're not going to be ruled, and we're going to have this this Bill of Rights, and we're going to have this no, not Bill of Rights, sorry, what's the thing I'm thinking of? The
Constitution.
Yeah. Thank you. And try to go it without us, and so it's kind of like the son leaving home and saying, no, I've got a better idea, Dad, and they've done pretty well for themselves, and I think it's time. I genuinely see them as going to be the ones that, if things are as bad as I think they are, that they're going to be the ones that have to come back and sort of get us into line.
They may be our only hope. Yes, but no. I just thought I just wanted to clarify that, because it could be taken as your original statement as just fucking limey to what's he saying?
Yeah, no thanks.
Who does he think he is?
Yeah.
Actually, it's interesting, because I used to be, if there was any element of me that was racist, or you couldn't really call it racism, but I think I was against Americans in my youth. I thought they were, well, and they are the warmongers. I'm not going to say that everything about them is good, because of course it's not, and there is a lot of wrong. But I was very racist towards Americans. I thought they're up their own backsides, and that we should ignore them. And I've grown to realise that some of their ideas of true freedom and true representation are so much better than ours, and we do have to take a step back sometimes and think they did work things out a little bit better than us, or they did work on what we had and made it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this country has fallen so far, and we've just sort of kept up this smug kind of arrogance. I mean, when I grew up, it was like you say, that there was this kind of generally speaking, between from British people towards American, kind of an arrogant, sort of sneering, look down your nose type of attitude towards them. Which I was never really that comfortable with anyway, because once you meet American people, you find they're great people, just like anyone else can be a great person. And of course we get so much of the culture over here. We're so heavily influenced by it. But it's and we're just a basket case nowadays. UK is an absolute basket case. We've got no reason to feel superior about anything anymore. Once upon a time, we might have had a reason, rightly or wrongly, but these days, not at all.
No, not at all now. No, it's awful, really. Not that I want to go back to the colonialist years. I mean, we're under a colonialist yoke. As the colonists have retreated from the colonies, they're intent on colonizing their own people, which is us regular people.
Yes, it's come
and
to
that does
itself,
it
isn't
does it does just. If I want to quickly say, we need something like this. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's what we need. The First Amendment.
Well, it's what's very interesting with what's going on over there with all of this, the Doge happening, and all of these judges pushing back and trying to stop all of these executive orders about Doge happening. Is it seems to me that everything that they are doing, not the judges, I'm talking about Musk and the president, is being done constitutionally. It's and all these judges are doing is being unconstitutional. They're not recognizing what Doge is doing is being done by the Constitution. It's being done properly by the law, and it's been overrun. It's been run roughshod over for so long now that people have lost sight of that. So it's almost like everyone's starting to get a lesson in civics now, that the public are being educated with all of this stuff being out there. This judge said, puts a ban on this order, and then it's going to get appealed, and there's all this backwards and forwards going on, this legal stuff. But it's and I think people are learning. They're getting a lesson about the Constitution, about what the Constitution is again, because a lot of people seem to have forgotten it. And it seems a lot of these executive orders and Doge, they're all being done by the book, by the Constitution. They're getting pushed back against. Ultimately, they're gonna win through because it's the Constitution. It's all going to go back to that, and people are going to be treated to a refresher course in the Constitution again, which is cool.
It's very interesting, and hopefully the age of lawfare is coming to an end.
Yes. Well, we could do with some of that in this country for a start.
Damn right. Which brings me on. I don't know if you finished with this. Probably never would finish with it, but it does bring me on to the attack on the various platform providers using the Online Safety Act.
Are you talking about the Ofcom now going to be regulating online? Yes, I know, it's ridiculous. Sorry, Viv, go on. Yeah.
No. I've finished really. I mean, the idea of illegal harms, the aspects of that which are in force. Yeah.
Well, it seems clear to me. It seems clear to me that when you look at it on the face of it, it's unenforceable. Okay, it's just there's no way that they can enforce this. Then maybe take one step to the side and kind of think, actually, you know what? They've no intention of enforcing it across the board. They just want to use it to enforce it for their own particular ends. And that is to shut up free speech that doesn't agree with their narrative.
Yeah.
And anything else doesn't matter,
And to shut up the alt media, the so-called alt media of both left, right, and neither left nor right.
Yeah, just anyone who doesn't toe the line with them. Anyone who doesn't swallow their propaganda, anyone who speaks up against it, pushes back against it, provides an alternative viewpoint, etc., etc.
Yeah, totally.
And it's another reason why they will fail, because they've failed to realise that they've pushed us too far. They've pushed the general public beyond the point of caring. And I'm speaking only from my own personal point of view, I suppose now, but there is nothing they can load up on me that I'm going to be scared of anymore. I'm still going to say what I want. I've had enough. There is nothing they can. I'm not scared. I'm not. It's a ridiculous concept. I've had enough of it, and I think I feel that there's a lot of people like me, and I don't think they've worked that out yet.
Yeah, if anyone ever looks in this obscure corner of the internet in which we're podcasting, then just come and get me. Come on, come and get me.
Yeah, I feel the same, buddy. I feel exactly the same. And in fact, I want to just quickly put it back to the UK. We said about the JFK files being the big news in America, and I was going to say just about an hour before we started chatting on this Thursday evening, I saw that the reform stuff has taken another level where Farage had launched another attack, and Lowe had come back and said that. And in written word on X said that he feels Nigel Farage is evil and that he should never be prime minister, and that he's going to sort of I don't want to put words into it, but it was something that he was going to make sure it didn't happen. So it's taken it's gone up to this next level where and it's because we were talking about lawfare. I was going to say that it's all started with the idea that whatever his name is, had said that Lowe had attacked him, and nothing's come of that. As if I think it was all just fake. It was all just made up. I think that's it's certainly, if you're taking Lowe's point of view, he's saying it's made up anyway. Is as I've said many times, I think we're sort of 8 years behind America. I think we're just going through what America was going through when Trump first got appointed. I think this is where, and it's with the other guy with his stuff as well. We're slowly bringing our law down, crashing down, going back to basics, and it's being shown to us all. And I don't know what you guys feel about that. Well, we spoke about it last week. I know what you feel about the reform thing, but are you still where you were last week? Do you think? Because I'm wondering if this is all every aspect. Every aspect of it is a false flag.
Well, yeah. I've kind of tried to emotionally extricate myself from the whole reform thing, and I don't really. I don't. To me, it's my opinion has changed a bit from last week. Actually, I'm even less of a reform fan than I was. I don't trust them. I don't trust Farage. So yeah, I'm kind of, I'm not. I have no real enthusiasm about that at the moment, about reform at all.
Where would your vote go tomorrow if there was a snap election?
I couldn't say.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Probably not. Vote, go on.
My vote would be independent now, but as someone who largely believes that the future lies in cooperative anarchism, that might sound a bit weird, but I mean, the whole political thing is so dull, so depressing. Your hopes are raised a bit for a few months. You think, whoa, well, maybe this political thing, it could be all right. But then, whoever you vote for, the bloody government always gets in, and they do the same thing, and they turn into the uni party. And so I don't know anymore. I don't know.
It's demoralized. It's definitely demoralized us all.
Yeah, that's where I've tried to get away from the demoralization aspect of it. But I am increasingly now of the opinion that Farage is not the man in whatever format it may be. He's just not the man. I don't trust him. I think he's I think Elon Musk is right. He's not the man. If reform is going to get anywhere, it needs to be run by someone else. But there may well be something which comes up in the meantime. Something else. Who knows? There's still a lot of possibilities that can happen. This thing with all of them, with Rupert Lowe and Farage, is rumbling on. There's still shots being fired. So I'm just like, yeah, okay, get on with it, whatever.
I mean, it's like people say about politics. Politics is politics is entertainment. Really.
Yeah, it's Hollywood for ugly people, isn't it? That's what they say.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's right. Look at Zia Youssef. All right, chairman of Reform. Worked at Merrill Lynch. Worked at Goldman Sachs.
Yeah. Their establishment
just suddenly turned up and just sort of turned up and suddenly was in charge out of nowhere.
Yeah, he chucked over £1 million Farage's way, and that greased the wheels, obviously. So Farage was like, "Yeah, come on in, my old son." You know? Yeah, it's Well, I don't really even want to think about it anymore at the moment. I'm just like, okay, just go on, do what you're gonna do. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I'm just not gonna get emotionally pulled into the roller coaster anymore.
Yeah, but what does that mean? Well, I mean, that's the saddest thing to hear then, because I mean, what?
Not until they straighten themselves out. They're acting like a bunch of idiots.
I see.
As long as
Like
they're acting like a bunch of idiots,
back.
I'm not interested in engaging with it at all. So,
You're just taking a break for. I see. Yeah. Because it is worrying. Whether they're right or wrong or what it's just worrying because we've gone back a couple of years.
Yeah. Maybe we have gone backwards, but how far forwards had we come? That was the thing. Was it just expectation rather than reality?
Yeah, of course it's expectation. I think so. I put my trust, as always, in regular, ordinary people who I meet every day and who are just fine. They're decent people. They're straight, they're straight down the line, most of them.
Yeah, most people are, but it's a matter of to get them to do what needs to be done is a whole different thing. Most people just want to get on with their lives and be left alone.
Well, we need to work out a way that we don't need government anymore, but we do need a nation. We do need England, and Scotland needs Scotland. Wales needs Wales. Ireland needs Ireland.
I think that requires a level of consciousness which kind of collectively we're a long way off from at the moment.
Yeah, I know. We need a revolution in consciousness.
We do, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, we do. Yes.
Yeah.
Never underestimate the silent ones out there that the kind of people that do find our YouTube channel and watch it, or the people there's a lot of people out there. The cohesion is there. They're not all off of their backsides yet, but I think it is there.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, look at the last general election. 20% of the people voted for the government. Come on. Come on. That's a minority extremist government.
It is, but you've got to look at the 80% and who did they vote for? And if the majority didn't vote for anyone, why didn't they vote for anyone? Was it just apathy, or was it actually a clear protest, like on their part?
We don't know. The government is terrified of that, and they will never ever put what they should put on ballot papers, which is a box for none of the above, which I used to write for years and years. I used to write underneath none of the above when I was living in London.
Yeah,
I've done that a couple of times.
There we go.
Did you Starmer in PMQs on Wednesday? Did you hear about that obnoxious man when he said about this? Have you heard about this TV program called Adolescence? I believe it's called.
I've heard of that.
I've heard about it, even though I don't have a telly, don't watch telly.
It's Netflix, a Netflix thing, isn't it? It's a really hard-hitting drama, isn't it? Apparently.
Do you need a license to watch Netflix?
No, you don't. No,
you don't. Yeah. I haven't even got a telly. But
Yeah, and that absolute wankstain said in Parliament that it was a documentary. Again, trying to say that young white boys are the problem in this country, and it's not true. How dare you say that?
Is that what they're saying? Is that the message behind this?
He said at the podium, I've got my two children, and they're both watching it because we think it's a great documentary. Don't tell the general public it's a documentary when it's a absolute made up pile of garbage.
Well, it's fiction. It's fiction, and I don't know much about it, but I do know it's getting a hell of a lot of traction.
It is, and it's about this teenage white boy who apparently commits extreme violence towards a girl, and and everything surrounding that. So it's all about kind of a young white working class lad is a problem. Basically, that's the takeaway.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see. I see.
And
Yeah.
then
Sell
Okay.
the idea that it's all the young white boys with their masculinity problems, and it's a white issue. And then for him to say it's a documentary, as if it's true. And if anyone just sees that him saying that, they're going to think, oh yeah, I'll give that a watch then.
Yeah,
it's
it's an advert. He's basically making an advert. I think the problem with young white men, and a lot of them are wonderful people. Don't get me wrong, is that they're not masculine enough.
well, they've had their whole identity and role models stripped away from them systematically.
Yeah,
Societally, it's unacceptable to be what they should be, what they have traditionally been or aspired to being. Now, all of a sudden, that is a taboo in society. So they're kind of left stranded, really.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's
Wondering,
absolutely terrible. It's
yeah, an
absolutely
identity.
terrible.
Their identity is being completely stripped away from them, and it's not being adequately replaced with anything worthwhile.
No, I know.
And that's going to lead to trouble. There's only one way that's going to end.
yeah.
And it's not going to be good, mate.
And it's not going to be good. And that's not the only one. There's loads of these kind of avenues happening everywhere across society. Where they're all going to, they're all headed down a path which is not going to end well. It's not just the one. This is happening all over the place.
I mean, I look at young people, they're involved in a massive experiment. And the experiment started in 2014 with the introduction of the smartphone, which is a more powerful computer in your pocket than it took for an IBM, I think it was IBM, to put, well, allegedly, here we go again, this being his conspiraloon persona now, but allegedly landed people on the moon. And now, it's in your pocket now, this computer, massively powerful.
Here's a question for you, a kind of a relative question, all right? I mean, we are of a certain generation. Myself and 4D, we're Gen X. Viv, you're baby boomer.
Right? Yeah, I'm a boomer.
You're a boomer, right? So, I mean, we are all the first generation to grow up with TV, okay?
Yeah.
And you could apply the same kind of logic to that. All these teenagers all growing up in front of this box in the corner of the room, just pumping out all this stuff into their brains. They're not going out and playing with their mates. They're not reading books. They're not doing all these wholesome things. They're just sitting in front of this screen. How much do you think that affected us? Did that affect us being the first generation to grow up with TVs? And how?
It did.
In a making a comparison to kids now growing up with this powerful computer on their phone in their pocket.
Difference here is television. Television was one way. This is interactive.
Yes, but the overall effect, because still growing up with TV. Okay, maybe it made a difference, but we still kind of pretty much grew up okay.
Yeah,
it didn't have a really bad detrimental effect on us. Maybe in relation to our parents, they kind of maybe frowned upon it in a way. Maybe they saw it as a good thing because it kept us occupied as kids. They didn't have to, it kept us out of their hair to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But I kind of think on reflection, TV wasn't the best. It wasn't, but we did all right in the end. We were okay. We came out of it okay.
Yeah, sure. It's not just nostalgia for me to say though that television was better back in the day, golden age. 60s, 70s.
I think no, it was absolutely because there was less of it, so it had to be higher quality, especially in this country at least. But I think a big thing it didn't really affect our attention spans because we used to have to sit through programs and watch them, whereas now the attention span because of phones is just ridiculously short or non-existent. Everything is like short, sharp things, It's all short videos. people don't the young people seem to be lacking the attention span of even kind of watching something for 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes it seems as that they're not interested in doing that.
Yeah, and you also have the sort of the subsequent or sort of concomitant effects of depression, terrible depression. I want to get Jonathan Haidt's book, who's a writer I really admire. His new book's called The Anxious Generation, and he does plot. And you know, he's an academic, so he's got the stats. He's got the access to the stats, showing that essentially middle class girls, depression, young women, depression rose massively after 2014, which was the introduction of the smartphone.
Right.
I mean, it's taken away their confidence. They've got people on there, influencers, who are really messing with their minds. You should look like this. Why does everyone in my hometown, every young woman, look the same?
Yeah.
And do you know the amount of them that are frightened to talk to people on the phone?
Yeah, I know.
It's become a phobic thing where they I guess they've got so used to texting or talking to people through the medium of computer that they're now scared to talk to people on the phone.
Totally. Not my bunch at work. I mean, they're really good, but so they're different. But they do. A lot of them do look the same. They have that ironed hair look, lots of makeup, false fingernails, eyelashes. You know,
false eyelashes have really come back in recently. It's like, what? Where the hell did they come? Where did they? You know, they used to be a real thing back in the 70s, and then they seem to just disappear. Then over the last kind of couple of years, everyone's wearing these stupid false eyelashes again.
It comes from TikTok, from influencers.
Yeah,
it spreads. It becomes a kind of viral thing within the society of that young people move in.
Yeah, obviously.
So they do this. There's Botox. There's stuff goes on. I mean, the girls are beautiful enough. Humans are beautiful enough. We don't need too much adornment, you know.
No, you don't need to. I mean, you know, if you're going to do something like that, do something that enhances rather than covers up, because that seems to be.
It's meant to enhance, but you know, God made us fine enough, so let's not worry too much. You know.
Well, there you go. We've done it again. We've made it to 10 o'clock. We started with normal wisdom, and we've ended with eyelashes. So that's a good one.
yeah. I've got a lot more to talk about. I want to say, and I posted on some Substack, don't bloody use booking.com.
Oh, right.
If you're going to book a room somewhere, a hotel or whatever, please try and avoid booking.com. They're the shittest.
All right.
Combined insurance and booking company that I've ever encountered in all my time. You know.
Yeah. Thank you, Viv. There's a word from our sponsors there from Viv.
Well, actually, do you know what? That is so cool, because at the beginning I said there was something else I wanted to say about. Before we started recording, I was talking to you guys, and I said there was something else I wanted to say about the videos, and I'd forgotten what it was. And you've just reminded me what it was, and that's a great place to end. Someone had said to me, would we be, how do we feel about advertising? Now, obviously, we've only got a couple of people listening, and it's a bit of a joke, but one of the ladies that I know that listens to us each week already, she's got her own mental health thing, and she was like, oh, you know, could I get a free plug? And I was like, yeah, I've got no issue with that. Hardly anyone's listening, so it's not like you're going to get a massive thing out of us. But have either of you got any problems with having local
no problem.
Because I thought the same for you two. Like, we could advertise, you know, if you've got a friend, Viv, that's got a local business, you know, we'll just say a few words for someone that's just for no reason other than we can.
Yeah, that's great. I want to give a big shout out to British Supplements, based in Northern Ireland, the great little region of Northern Ireland. lovely people.
Exactly, things like that. Yeah.
And British Supplements is based in Northern Ireland. It's the best bloody supplements you can buy for the money.
Do you know, I still haven't had my first order. I keep on pushing it aside, but I must do an order with them. I really am going to do that. In fact, I'm going to do that tomorrow.
Get yourself vitamin core. Core is vitamin C, which they do not use ascorbic acid. They use a cherry extract with high vitamin C. They use D3, which is added with vitamin K, which you need to activate the D3. And finally, zinc. You get those three, you're sorted, mate.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks. And that's exactly the kind of thing I was on about. That. So we'll have to. Yeah, cool. Have you got an end dad joke? Did you?
Oh, dearie me!
Luckily, I thought that you might not, so I had a couple in reserve in case you didn't have one. We'll end on. I seem to only get ill at the weekends, and I think I've come to the conclusion I must have a weekend immune system.
Okay, why did the mushroom always get invited to the best parties?
He was a fun guy. Yeah.
I'm sorry, everyone knows
What do you call a magic dog?
Go on.
No.
Labracadabrador.
Oi.
Oh, that's the one to end on. That's the one to end on.
Yeah. Good night. Have a good week. Good night. Have a good week. Have a good week. Good night.
Yeah, bye.